Hi everybody! Today's video is going to be showing how I make my tornado heart pendants, and this is actually a revisit video of an older blurrier version which I believe I called a feather heart tutorial, and now I'm calling them tornado hearts, so whichever you prefer. And you can make as many twists as you want, and you can make a bail going across the two humps of the heart or just on one side of the heart. It's whatever you prefer. I'm going to be making the pink and black heart that's in the center in this video. So basically I am trying out a new color here. It's called Double Helix Rhea, and I wasn't really sure how it would work out, but and I thought maybe it would be reducing, but I don't think it does. Either that or I didn't do it right. But I have a little barrel of clear at the end of a clear rod. I believe it's about an 8mm clear rod. And I am going to be coiling on some of this Rhea color, which is a nice like reddish pink color. And I'm just going to cover the whole barrel of clear with this Rhea. And you can use whatever color you want. You can use an opaque, you can use a transparent, you can use silver colors. It's whatever you prefer and any combination. So I'm just coiling this around, and then I'm going to put a second layer just to try to make sure it's a nice rich color, because it is going to be, transparent at the center. And just rolling it to straighten it out a bit. And now I'm going to add the second coil, and I sped this up a little bit just so you don't have to watch the boring coiling. And so I'm just going to do this and melt this in to a nice barrel shape and straighten it out. And I'm tapering it down there into the rod a little bit, just so it blends down into the rod at the bottom. You don't have to do that, but I just didn't want a sharp edge there between the holding rod and the barrel of glass itself. And so now I'm going to smash this with my mashers and make a nice flat rectangle. So you want to smash it sideways and then make the edges flat too. So you have a little rectangle paddle. And so there's my paddle with the Rhea. Just taking out a little bit of the chill marks from using a cold tool on the hot glass. Trying to smooth that out a little bit. And now I'm going to add some edge stripes of black. You can use any color you want. I like a lot of contrast in my pendants, but you can actually use an opaque pink, or you could have used a blue or a purple. It's, whatever color you prefer. But this will actually give outer lines swirling around in either complement or contrast to whatever color you're using. And so I like to do this. You don't have to do this. You could just leave it the pink or whatever color you're going to use. You don't have to put these contrasting lines, but it adds a little more dimension to your pieces. At least I think so. And so I'm just I'm melting those in and then flattening into that paddle shape again. I want to keep that rectangular shape. Getting the chill marks out again. And I have this sped up in this section a little bit again here. And so there's my paddle. And now I'm going to try to reduce it. I don't think this Rhea actually, it looked like I was getting a little shine on it, but I'm not sure if it's really supposed to reduce. So because it didn't come out with any kind of effect at the end. So either I didn't do it right, which could be the case, or it's just not supposed to reduce. It's just supposed to be a nice pink. And then I broke it. So it's like, woohoo, it just fell off. It was cracked there for a while, and then it fell off. So I'm just going to punty it back up. And luckily it fell right on my marver there, so it was really convenient. And so I'm just going to punty it up to the top, and I'm going to make sure that's melded in really nicely. And I'm going to pull it out into a thinner section. And you'll see here, and I'm trying to keep it straight, so I keep turning it to keep it straight on axis while it cools. But sometimes it helps having a little thinner section of rod there at the bottom, because they're less likely to crack having skinnier sections. And so I get that clear off, and I'm gonna try to reduce again, but I don't think it really worked. But if anybody has info on this, because I've never used this color glass before, if anybody has info, let me know. But it does make a really pretty pink color. So now we're going to start encasing this paddle. And what we want to do is we want to cover the whole paddle in clear, but we want to add a lot of bulk to the two flat sides to make a big oval, round oval shape to create these pendants. So what I do first is I actually cover the outside edge, and just like one swipe of clear encasement right around the edge of that black line, or the outside of your color, whatever your color is. And so that's encased. And now we're going to start adding bulk glass to the two flat sides on either side. And what I do is I get a big dollop of clear, and then I just swipe it down all at once. It's however you want to do it. You could just stripe it down the glass, but I like making a big ball of molten color, and then just kind of like push it gently, not too tough, push it a little bit and swipe it down and try to get any air bubbles out of it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it helps to have it nice and molten. Really, really soupy. And so I'm going to speed up again so you don't have to watch all of this encasement. But I'm just bulking this up on both sides and putting nice thick layers on both of the flat sides. And so here's the sped up section. So I'm covering both sides. And now I have that side totally covered. So I could put it in the flame and not have a problem. If there is a reduction glass under there, I wouldn't have a problem with it losing its reduction qualities because it was totally covered. So I just keep the paddle, a little further back in the flame just so it doesn't get too cold. And so now that I have the whole thing encased with clear, I'm going to smooth it out. There's still not enough clear bulked up on either of the sides, but I'm just smoothing these out so I won't trap air bubbles doing another layer. And so it's however you want to bulk up this clear glass, but you basically want your clear glass to be about as fat or tall, however you want to say it, then the paddle is wide. So you basically want to make it into a ball shape or an oblong oval, so that it's basically round all the way around in the center with the bulk of clear. So it's getting smoothed out there. I'm kind of trying to shape it a little bit So I got some bulk of clear on there, but I do need more. So I want it as tall as it is wide for this clear. And so now I'm just going to swipe on where I need it. There's a little less clear on the outside edge there. I'm just going to swipe on some layers of clear. And just bulk this guy up and make a nice fat oval. I probably should have sped this up a little faster, huh? But you could fast forward if you want. I think I'm almost done. Yeah, so see, now I got a lot more clear there on either of those wide sides, and it looks like it's pretty even, or it will be when it's melted down. It's pretty close to being a ball shape now, or an oval shape. It's a little bit longer than it is wide. And so you want to melt this all down nice and smooth and get it all hot and floppy. So that's why I have a holding rod on each side, just so that you can keep control of your glass. And also, when it gets hot enough, we're going to pull it out of the flame and start twisting it. So here we go. It's pretty straight right now. But we want to make sure that it's nice and hot all the way to the center, and it gets pretty floppy on your rods. So you just need to be a little careful of that. And now that it's hot enough, nice and floppy, we want to start twisting it. And so I'm twisting it and also trying to keep it on center because it is pretty floppy on there. So I'm doing my best to keep this on center while I twist. And you can twist this as much or as little as you want. I didn't twist this one a whole lot, not as much as I usually do, just so that the twists wouldn't get too tight and kind of disappear in the video. I wanted them to still be seen in the video. So I didn't twist this quite as much as I usually do. But you can do as many twists or as little of a twist as you want. And coincidentally, doing this technique, if I was going to keep twisting and pull this out into a stringer, it would be what they call a ribbon cane, and there would be a ribbon in the center of your stringer. So it's the exact same way you make a ribbon cane, except for I am actually shaping it into a pendant. And so I'm tapering it down on the one end. That's going to be the bottom of the heart. And now I'm going to pull off the top rod. It's a little crooked on my holding rod there, but I am going to pinch off and twist the edge of the top edge there to get a nice termination point with the black and the pink lines. So I get a nice little termination point at the top, kind of like the way they make marbles. Now I'm straightening this out again. See, there's a nice point there at the top where it all curls up together. And so now I'm just going to melt all this down until I got a really stubby cone shape. So I want to fatten up the top for the top of the heart, and so I'm going to heat that whole top half section and meld it down until it gets like kind of a ball shape at the end. It starts flowing down and getting thicker, as you could see. and more rounded at the top. And I want a nice stubby cone shape for the heart. So I'm just smoothing out those sides a little bit. Trying to even it out, especially on the taper section that goes down on either side. And that's basically the shape you want. A nice stubby cone that's rounded at the top. And I'm going to heat this up, and then I'm going to flatten it with my big mashers. And what I do is I look directly down at it. I'm looking straight down, and I'm flipping it over to make sure it's even all the way across. You don't want to smash it too thin, so it's kind of a chunky smash. I'm going to straighten it out here by heating the bottom a little bit and letting it droop just slightly so it's straight on your holding rod. And there is, it's kind of like a lollipop shape or a balloon shape, flattened balloon shape at the end of your rod, and that's what you want. So I use an X-Acto tool to indent the humps on the top of the heart. You can use an old kitchen knife, you can use another kind of razor tool, but something that's fairly sharp or thin, so that you get a nice indent. And so I indent it and then I turn it around and indent again, because sometimes on one side it'll look even, and when you turn it around on the other side, the size of the humps will look crooked with that same indent. So I like to do it on both sides, and then I heat the sides and push it down a little bit, down the side of each part of the hump, each side of the hump. And so I determine my humps now, and now I'm just going to melt that glass in. So I have this sped up again here. I'm going to melt it and smooth it out, because I moved that glass and it made kind of little outdents where the humps were. And so I want to smooth it all in so the heart goes in a nice taper downward. And you can actually flatten it, flatten it a little bit and help it out. And now I'm shaping like each hump. So I heat one hump at a time, and then I just use gravity and go upside down, right side up, until I get the shape I want. So I'm doing the second hump now. So I heat the front, the back, the front, the back. I get it nice to where it starts moving, and then I pull it out of the flame and I hold it at different angles. Hold it up, hold it down, and let it start drooping into the direction I want it to be. And I'm trying to make a symmetrical heart. You don't have to make a symmetrical heart, but I want to try to get these as even as possible for this heart. And I basically use gravity. I just keep tilting in different directions to make the glass flow, downward, upward, inward, whichever way you want. And I'm re-solidifying those little cut marks because they were kind of fading away. They were getting too melded together there, and I want a nice definite cut mark for my hearts. And now I'm going to add the bail. So I'm going to add a bail going across the heart. You could also do just a loop on one hump if you want. And you could check out my bail making video. I do have a bail making video to show you different ways to make bails. So if you need to watch that, you could do that. So I have some scuzz on my rod here, trying to get it off. And what I do when I start making this this bail that goes across both humps, I put anchor dots down. So I put a dot on each hump of where I want the bail to emanate from. And I make sure those are nicely fused in with the rest of the pendant. You want a nice strong connection there. So I want them totally fused in with the pendant. And these are my little anchor points, and it makes it a lot easier to place the rest of the glass if you have these little points of starting and ending. And so I'm just going to heat up some glass here, put it on one of the anchor points, attach it there, and just slowly feed out a little length of glass. And when I think I have enough, I touch it down to the other anchor point. And I could add more glass if you think you need more glass. If it wasn't thick enough, you want a nice thick bale, just add a little more glass where you think it's needed. Doesn't have to look beautiful right now. You're going to meld it in. And so that's what I'm going to do here. And so the first thing I do is I heat one of the anchor points with the glass attached. I heat that first. And see, I'm using gravity, going up and down, letting the glass droop in the direction I want and smooth out. Now I'm going to focus on the other anchor point. Get that all melded in and smooth, and use gravity to have it flow one way or another, whichever way you need more glass. Make sure you keep your pendant warm. So I keep going back and heating my pendant. You want to keep that warm. And then I use a tool and just slightly, I'm not really pushing a lot, just slightly try to round out your bale and make it the shape you want. Make a nice curved shape, or you can even make a triangular shape. You can have it pointy at the top. And then I also use paddles to make sure it's in line with the rest of your pendant. Sometimes it can droop to one side or another, so you want to make sure it's nice and straight in line with that heart pendant. So I'm basically almost done with this bale. Trying to make it even. I think it was still a little crooked, but it's okay. It's the heart that's the important part. So I think I pretty much have my bale set. And my the sides of my heart, they weren't really even. You could see one side looks a little fatter, and it looks like my point goes off center from the heart, and I want to make it symmetrical. So I am going to work on that here. Normally, if my heart was nice and symmetrical already, I would just at this point just grab a pair of tweezers, grab my bale, and pull off the tip of the point. But in this case, my heart was a little crooked at the bottom. The edges that taper down weren't even. And the termination point at the bottom was a little off center. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to try to fix this. So first I am trying to widen out that one hump because it looked like it didn't stick out as far as the other side. And sorry if I go off screen a little bit. But I'm trying to widen that out and make it a little more even. And now I'm going to start on the bottom section. So I'm going to heat the bottom edge on one side, the bottom edge on the other. It's like the bottom half or third of this pendant. And I'm heating both sides until it starts getting movable. And I'm going to start twisting this and pulling it out and moving it over just a little bit. You see that? I was moving it over to the left a little bit and trying to get this a little more centered, a little more symmetrical. And I twist as I pull out so I can keep that twist going that was originally put in the pendant with our little ribbon cane kind of thing. So I'm going to put that bit aside, and now I'm just going to use tweezers to pull out the rest of it. I was trying to straighten it there, little taper. But I'm going to heat this up more on the bottom, trying to straighten it out a little bit, because the heart was actually starting to twist. And I heated up that little glob of glass so much that it just fell right off, which is fine because I was going to pull it off anyway. And I'm pretty much almost done. I'm just getting this final little twist and taper to a point to where I like it. And there is the finished pendant. Now the only thing I have left to do is get this little punty off the top, which it bangs right off. But there was a little nub of glass still on there, so I'm going to pull that off. I think I blocked the view, but I'm just going to pull off that little nub of glass there and melt it smooth at the top of the bale. I'm just swiping that in the bottom of the flame. And I drop it, but here is the finished pendant. And it could go right in the kiln. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.